I had mentioned something about teaming, or let's team up with another company with a particular designation and let's go after work. Okay, now, from my experience, if you're just starting new and you don't really have any exposure to the government and you're just starting, and this is probably, I would recommend this for anything important in your life, right? We recommend to team. What does that mean? Teaming means to meet and develop a relationship with another entity that has experience with the government, that checks the boxes that you're not able to check, so that you can get work from the government. Okay. Another known, now this is not my strategy. This is the main successful strategies that a lot of companies use. As a matter of fact, the largest companies in the country, like the Lockheed Martins, the IBMs, the Boeings, Microsofts, all of these big companies that you probably see advertising on TV and these sporting events, that's actually what they do. They team with small businesses, believe it or not, because when the government gives a large company a contract, 35% of that contract, in most cases, will have to be given to a small business. So those companies have to give 35% of that contract to small businesses. And it can't be just one. So there's 3% of it for women-owned, 3% for veteran, 3% for this, 5% for that. So they have to have a stable, okay, a team of small businesses with different classifications and different designations in order to meet these quotas. They actually have people full-time dedicated that they identify as supplier diversity managers. And their entire job is to find you. That's their job. So the question is, why aren't you reaching out to them? You should. Worst thing that'll happen is they'll say, hey, thank you, but we're not interested. That doesn't hurt. The other way is find mentors. Okay? There's a lot of companies out there that have walked a mile in this space, have learned a lot, and who better to learn from than someone who's just done it? If someone has done it, don't you think you could learn from that person? Isn't that what we do almost day in and day out? Who doesn't go to YouTube like, I need to fix this, or I need to do that, or I want to check this out? We go to YouTube and see how someone else did it. I might look at 4 or 5 different people and see if they did it differently or the same. So teaming and mentoring is very, very highly recommended. I highly recommend it if you can find it. Now, some people don't know how to go about doing this. There's also techniques on how to do that as well. These are different sessions, and this is why we're doing webinars. There's a lot of information that can really help people. And it's not fair to give a lot of information in just one session in a boot camp style to learn how to do business with the government. It really requires a step-by-step procedure process so that you can kind of really understand it. And it really gets simpler that way. You don't have to remember all of these things. Some of them start to become natural, and that's when the trust factor really develops with the government. Okay, now you really want to inject or insert yourself into an ecosystem of companies. Ecosystem of companies, what's that? Well, you want to look for companies that can check some of these boxes, because if they do, then this is definitely a potential company that you want to develop a mentoring or a teaming relationship with. Very important. Past performance. That basically means that they've done past work with the government. They have experience. Contract vehicles, because the government likes to use contract vehicles to buy a lot of different products and services. Capabilities. So especially if you're a new business, you may not have a lot of capability. So if you're an IT company and you're in the cyberspace, well, you may have knowledge or capability in one specific part of it, but you may not have the capability to actually deliver a full solution. Or if you're in construction, hey, we do the electrical part. Well, you know what? We need someone to do drywall and plumbing to get this contract. Well, guess what? If you find a company that does drywall and plumbing and they have past performance and they have contract vehicles, well, guess what? That starts that starts to make your offering a lot more attractive and makes the government's life a lot easier. Okay. Certifications. There's so many different certifications. I can't even go into this. There's so many. I don't think any one person knows all of these certifications, but there is a ton of certifications. Some of them some of them are relevant. And so you need to find out which certifications are important or relevant in your line of work. And how do you find that out? That's when you're reaching out to the government. And these are some of the questions that you ask. So hence, you should look out, once you find that out, you should look out for companies that have these certifications. Socioeconomic categories is another hot one. This is like the woman-owned, the veteran-owned, disabled veteran-owned, minority-owned, 8A, which is another, that requires a video all in itself, because that is a very powerful socioeconomic classification that can give you sole source. This is the government can actually give you a contract with no competition at a maximum amount. They actually can go higher, but just to simplify it, maximum amount of about $5.5 to $6.5 million. Think about that. That is a big number. Okay, that is life changing for some companies. Then you want to look for companies that have proposal support. Basically, people need to know how to write a government proposal. It's not just a quote. Hey, here's my price quote. It's not a one page. That's not going to get you anywhere in the government. Let me tell you that you need to write a proposal. You need to learn how to write a proposal. So that's why it's good to find companies, build an ecosystem of companies that have proposal support, that know how to do that and know how to do it well, know how to write a winning proposal. Anyone can write a proposal, but a winning proposal. Delivery support. This is when you're actually going to deliver your product or service. So sometimes that could be 5 people, 10 people. Well, you know what, Omar? I only have 2 people. Where do I get these other 3 people? So that's another reason why. And then financial support, another big one. I've seen people actually sell their company after getting a government contract because they didn't have the financial capacity to actually begin to deliver on a contract, right? So it's good to have, these are very key things that you would look for companies that you can either team with or assign or find as a mentor. Okay. Now, we have an ecosystem of companies that are willing to help, and some of them check a lot of those boxes, right? And so this is where we come into play, and this is where we can potentially help. Now, we can't work with everyone, but for this particular community, we'd be willing to come up with a unique offering that makes sense for all parties involved and do it in a group session, and like I said, not in a boot camp style, but something in a more slower paced, where it's step by step, so that it encourages each individual person to want to advance to the next step, so that you can actually put yourself in the position to potentially get government work. Okay. And if you'd really like to learn more about this, I do have a bunch of content on my website. My website is www.governmentqb.com. You can feel free to email me at omar@governmentqb.com. And my name is Omar Abdel Rahim. That is my phone number. It does get forwarded to my cell phone, but obviously if 200 people call me, that may be a little bit hard to handle. So the best way is really email me, or if you go to my website, you can subscribe, and I send out some valuable content, and also I take a lot of feedback. So if there's something that you experienced in this journey, feel free to share it, and I'll develop content specifically based on that information. Okay, so right now, what are some takeaways? The takeaways are the government is not hard, it's just different. And then on top of that, seek guidance. There's nothing wrong with that. I've been in this space for 20 plus years. I seek guidance because there's certain parts of the government I'm just not as familiar with. So I will engage someone and say, listen, can you help me understand how to do business with that part of the government? Could be the Air Force, could be Army, could be the National Institutes of Health, the Food and Drug Administration, the Center for Disease Control, what have you. Some people have an extensive amount of knowledge in specific parts of the government and in specific components of the journey of one government transaction. So I always say, swallow your pride. Don't let pride get in the way of success. Okay. And you know what? If you make a few phone calls and you're not seeing results, don't quit. This requires commitment. We're entrepreneurs. If you want to be an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter if it's government or not government. You have to have a vision, direction, the will, and most of all, most important is just do it. I can't even explain to you the value of just do it. Now I know why Nike came up with that. And I'm not copywriting that. I'm not trying to sell that. So in full disclosure, but once you actually do it, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn things that are hard for you to learn from a presentation, because that on-the-job training, OJT, is extremely valuable. But I'm telling you, just do it. Be really nice with these people. I'm telling you, if you approach them in a nice, inquisitive, and can you help me kind of style, you'd be surprised on how much information you'll get. If you're going to call the government and start saying, oh, we are the best, we do this, we're number one. Well, guess what? Yeah, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, all right, sure, yeah, okay. Yeah, just give me your card, send me your capability statement, and I'll give you a call, right? That's what'll happen. So, but what you want to do is you want to articulate or explain to them or show them that you actually understand them. That's the key. Just listen, ask questions, listen, absorb the information. Then you can come back and take that to your teaming partners or your mentors or your coach, whatever you want to call that. And then they'll give you guidance on how that works and what to do with that information. What does that information mean? And what are the next actions based on that information you just learned? I greatly appreciate your time. I know your time is valuable. Hopefully I gave you some extremely valuable information for you to take next steps and actions in your journey to succeed in government contracting. Once again, this is Omar Abdelrahim, your government QB, coming at you from Washington, D.C. Have a good one.